And welcome, everybody, to the beautiful and historic Lyric Theater here in our hometown of Lexington, Kentucky. We're broadcasting all over the world, truly that we are. Hundreds of radio stations from Australia to Ireland, New Zealand to New York, Yuma, Arizona to the Yukon, across Canada. We're celebrating this amazing world of independent and grassroots music. Why? Because we love it. This is the soundtrack of everybody's front porch, and that's what Woodsongs is. Artists come from everywhere to be on our broadcast. We say it since day one. You don't have to be famous to be on Woodsongs. You just have to be very, very good. We got a very special show. We've got some special guests to introduce to you on this broadcast. First up is an artist that has waited a long, long time to release his very first album. He is one of the main publicists that are in the music business, but he's also an artist, and we're going to talk to him about both of his careers. He's got an album called So Far, So Good. It's a great album. This is a song called Little Johnny Pierce, all about Bob Dylan. If you'd like, please welcome Lance Cowan to the Woodsongs Old Time Radio Hour.
Little Johnny Pierce, he grew his hair long. Sat on his front porch singing Dylan songs. All the neighbors wondered what the hell was going on. When he mowed a peace sign right into his parents' front lawn. Yeah, yeah. Well, his teacher and his preacher and his parents all concurred. We gotta nip this thing before it grows much worse. They said, Johnny, get your head out of the clouds and come down to earth. But they could see through those linen glasses that he did not hear their words. Is it all just a passing fad, this talk of love and brotherhood? If it was as simple as that, wouldn't life be good? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, peace on the earth was the wish that he made as he blew out 18 candles on his birthday cake. Even Uncle Sam sent a card to celebrate. Johnny was so scared to go, but too scared to run away. Is it all just a passing fad, this talk of love and brotherhood? If it was as simple as that, wouldn't life be good? Yeah, you know that it would. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, now so many years have come and gone. So many memories have passed along. The neighbors sometimes hear those old Dylan songs, and his dad still mows a peace sign in the front lawn. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
From his album So Far, So Good, Little Johnny Pierce. Lance Cowan, it's nice to have you here finally.
Thanks,
We've
Michael.
talked about
Thank
this
you.
forever.
Yeah, we've known each other a long time.
Yeah,
too.
well, let's say it right up front for you and I have been friends for a long time.
Yeah.
And you have had a double career. You are one of country music's more preeminent publicist. You've worked
That's
with...
what I like to tell people.
That's right, right. That means you get paid. You've worked with everyone as diverse as Joe Ely to Michael Martin Murphy, Nancy Griffith, Newgrass Revival, Sam Bush, and our friends like that. You've worked with all of them. While you were doing this incredible day job, which we're going to talk about as the hour goes through, you also kept your love for being your own artist alive. You wrote songs with Janice Ian, among others, right? So how hard was that for you to be promoting, working other artists' careers while this engine was burning inside you?
I don't know hard, but I always... I looked at it as a learning experience that I got to be around. In my mind, some of the greatest songwriters on the planet. You know, throw in somebody like Guy Clark that I worked with, Nancy Griffith, Lyle Lovett. You know, I got to learn from those guys, though they didn't know it. I always kept my PR business separate from my music. In fact, I worked with Joe Ely now off and on for 35 years. And I don't think he knew I ever wrote a song till just a couple years ago. But I didn't want to use those guys to promote this side of what I do. And finally, you know, I held off on doing this because I had kids at home, and I wanted to be with them when they grew up and know my sons. So I held off on this. Finally, you know, when CDs became obsolete, I decided to put one out.
To go ahead now.
Yeah.
Making tens and tens of dollars doing
exactly.
Right.
But I'm having a blast. I'm having such a good time doing this. I have another record coming out that, well, it's out. And
so you waited quite a while to put your first album out.
I did.
Right? And now you had so much fun doing that, you're putting the second one out.
That's
there
right.
are a lot of folks out there that are have waited to do something that they truly love to do. And it's all a risk, isn't it?
It is.
So what would you tell them from your experience? Get out there and just don't wait anymore.
That's right. I would say that, except I feel like that for me, this was the time for me to do it. I mean, I can look back with opportunities I may have missed when I was younger, but it seems to be working now, so I'm okay with it. And I'm having, like I say, a great time sharing music, and it's been fun.
So here, you know, Nancy Griffith or Michael Martin Murphy, we should say, comes out with a new album. You're presenting that album to the world of publicity. Now you have your album. Who's your publicist?
I've got a manager who does that.
So you don't have to like go, here's my album now.
Yeah, but you know, because I've known so many journalists over the years, it has jumped over some obstacles that younger artists have because they already know me. And with my first record, for a lot of them, it was kind of a shock that my record came across their desk. And some of them who are friends of mine later told me, I hope I like this, because if I don't, I've got to trash it. And I got to tell you, every review that came in, I kind of sweat, you know, because what good is a review if they're not willing to trash it? But I didn't. I think
You know, my theory is that it's vibrating air. You don't have to trash vibrating air. If you don't like it, just shut up.
Well, that's a non-review is often a bad review.
Yeah.
But
it's less humiliating.
It's less humiliating, that's right.
Well, you have a wonderful first album. You waited a long time to do it. It's called So Far, So Good, getting a lot of reaction. This is a tune called Place for Everything. It is Lance Cowan on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
And I will only say that this is a song that my father was not happy that I wrote. He got to where he liked it later, but in my father's house, in his backyard, there are piles of junk and 2 rusted cars. It reminds him of his younger days. He keeps his memories all over the place. He's a pack rat of some great repute, a fact that no man could dispute. Mom just shakes her head and sighs and keeps her kitchen clean. There's a place for everything. So why can't he ever find anything? Still Still it comforts him just knowing that it's always there if he needs it. He's built sheds and barns to house his stuff. There are shelves, bins and hooks and dust. His little empire fills him up with pride. The neighbors cringe. And by the way, the Presbyterians had to ask him to stop encroaching on their property too. So, there's a place for everything. So why can't he ever find anything? Still it comforts him just knowing that it's always there if he needs it. Well, I must admit, I understand, 'cause these traits we share with his old man. Dad's got higher piles of junk than mine, but I'm sure I'll catch up in time. There's a place for everything. So why can't I ever find anything? Still it comforts me just knowing that it's always there if I need it. He's got buckets full of rusted bolts and 2 drawers packed with old remotes from TVs that died long ago. He's got ashes from his old wood stove. His workbench is piled with wires and screws and things that he's not sure what they do. He's got stacks of shingles. He's got a perfect roof and old electric motors too. There's a place for everything. There's a place for everything. There's a place for every little single tiny thing. Thank you.
All the way from Nashville, Tennessee, Lance Cowan and his album So Far, So Good. Lance has a new album coming out, and it's called Against the Grain. This is a tune called I Can't Stand the Winter. It is Lance Cowan on the Woodsongs, Old Time Radio.
I tape the windows up, throw a blanket by the door, but the cold wind still blows in. I turn the heater up, throw a log on the fire, but this drafty house still will not give in. I can't stand the winter, the cold stillness in the air that cuts right through you and lingers on so long every year. Just reminds me it was warm when she was here. I turn the coffee on and I tell myself this house is warm. Can't convince my feet that's true. So I sweater up my heart by remembering the parts of a burning fire that I once knew. I can't stand the winter, the cold stillness in the air that cuts right through you and lingers on so long every year. Just reminds me it was warm when she was here. I never noticed these cold nights. Her love kept me warm inside. God, I hate the winter, the cold stillness in the air that cuts right through you lingers on so long every year just reminds me it was warm when she was here. She was here. She was here. She was here.
Good song. I Can't Stand the Winter from his upcoming new album, Against the Grain, Lance Cowan. So one night you're in Nashville, and you're at a very famous singer-songwriter club called the Bluebird Cafe.
First time I ever went.
Were you playing there, or were you just in the audience?
No, I just wanted to see what it was all about. I just moved to Nashville, wanted to see what that was all about.
It's raining out.
Pouring down.
Pouring down. You were standing outside of the awning.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and somebody in an old
Heading to the car.
funky-looking car drives up.
That's right.
And what happened?
John Prine jumps out, comes up on the sidewalk, and it's pouring down rain. And I've been a fan of his since I was a kid. And he comes up there and lights a cigarette and talks to me for about 15 or 20 minutes while he smoked his cigarette. And years later, because I worked with Nancy Griffith, I got to spend more time with him when he was around Nancy. Just a wonderful guy, and the encouragement he gave not only me, but everybody. You know, he was not, I never saw him behave like a star when I was around him. He just was a guy.
Isn't it true the best stars don't act like stars?
Like you.
Well, God. Oh, no.
That's exactly right.
This
you
is
know,
very nice.
I saw a quote from Kevin Costner that always made me like him, even if I don't like the movie or the show he's in. He said that they asked him about people coming up to ask for autographs, and he said that he has just as much time to make somebody feel good about themselves as feel bad about themselves, and he'd rather leave them feeling good. And I like artists like that.
Well, John Prine kind of did that for you, didn't
John
he?
Prine did that to
Riders
everybody.
in the Sky does that for Phoebe. Marty Stewart and Johnny Cash's family has been doing that for Rob McNerlin. The community of artists was best when they were friends, when people were friends with each other. And Nashville was notoriously wonderful for that kind of circle at one time.
There's a friendly competition there, especially when I moved there in the 80s, the mid-80s. It was a very friendly competition, that they were just as supportive as they were competitive. And you could feel that when you were around other artists and other songwriters. It was just there. I don't see that as much now as I did back then. It seems much more, let's write a hit kind of thing.
When you focus on the money and not the art, when you focus on the money and not the artist, when you focus on the money and not the audience, then you have what has happened to Music Row. It dies, it goes away. And that's what happened to Music Row, right?
That's exactly right.
Back in the day, I mean, it's a famous story. Everybody thinks it's rumor, but it's not. You know, Chris Christopherson was a janitor in a recording studio, and he, wanted to sit down and listen to Johnny Cash record, right? And the secretary kicked Chris Christopherson out of the studio, and Johnny Cash went and found him and said, "No, you come on in here and you sit down." Yeah,
there are a lot of stories like that. Of artists, especially at that level. You hear of Johnny Cash doing that. He didn't have to. Well, Phoebe's told me some stories about the way people talk to her after. They don't have to. They could easily walk past. But they love music. And when they're not necessarily doing it for the money. They're doing it for the
you have artists like major motion picture stars and stars of the radio. They've done thousands of shows. They're the guest hosts consistently on the Grand Ole Opry, and Phoebe's on the stage tonight. Riders in the Sky, they gave her the cowboy hat that she's wearing right now. So,
and it looks doggone good on her, doesn't it?
Great. So you've got an album coming up, and this is a tune called Love Anyway. What do you want to tell me about this song?
It's
a great title.
Thank you. It's drawn out of the last 10 years of the divisiveness in this country that I see. And it's been pretty painful, to see. I've got, friends that I don't talk to anymore. Anyway, that's what this song is grew from. Sometimes people can be so mean, make you question the things you believe. You may wonder, was it ever what you thought? Did we ever stand together? What tore us apart? Did we surrender to all the pain? All the chaos, all the rage, love anyway, in spite of the anger, in spite of the hate, love anyway, if we ever hope for change, if there's ever hope for change, love anyway. Dark is darkest where there is no light. Wrong is wrongest where there is no right. Lies are lies and they're never true enough. And hate is hate in the absence of. But there is hope on common ground. All that matters is love anyhow, love anyway. In spite of the anger, in spite of the hate, love anyway. If we ever hope for change, if there's ever hope for change, love anyway.
Wasn't it great having Lance Cowan on our broadcast? Phoebe White. I didn't want to talk about this during the show, but in a pure example of perseverance, you were working on a table saw.
Yeah, that was fun. That was smart.
And what happened?
Oh, I forgot to use a push stick and pushed my finger right into the blade.
You lost part of your finger on that.
You see how even that is now.
And he plays the guitar anyway.
Well, thank heavens it was my right hand and not my left.
No, I think that's really, it's not, I'm not glad it happened, but I'm glad for the example that you set.
I've had to live with a lot of humiliation for that stupid little.
Well, I would think it's difficult to give people the finger that way.
It's really, well, it's friendlier. It's shorter, so it's friendlier.
What are you going to play for us?
This is a song I wrote with my good friend, the late Dave Mallett, who just passed away before the holidays. Another cup of coffee black, another ache in my poor back. You think by now I'd have the knack of traveling alone, but it's just me in this old car on 1,000 miles of broken tar. And I just saw a falling star, so far, so good, so far from home. I bet the folks all miss me so, maybe not, well, who could know? 'Cause things like that are touch and go. But what's a man to do? I'm out here on this interstate. It's 3 a.m. and I'm wide awake, and as long as this old car don't break. So far, so good, so far from home and the ones I love. And all I'm thinking of is turning this car around. Another cup of coffee black, another ache in my poor back. You think by now I'd have the knack of traveling alone. But when I'm old and when I'm tired, I'll sit home and I'll stoke the fire. But until then, I'm up for hire. So far, so good, so far from home, so far, so good, yeah, yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.